Today is our last Sunday in our 4-week sermon series on Rockwell's book, Love Wins. 3 weeks ago, we talked about when Jesus and the prophets refer to heaven or the age to come. When they talk about wanting God's kingdom to be here on earth as it is in heaven. When they speak about all these things, they talk about those here and now moments. Not what happens after we die, but what happens when we glimpse God's will being done in our own lives here and now on earth. 2 weeks ago, we heard about the times in our Bible and our sacred scriptures when Jesus and the prophets used the word Gehenna, or Hades, or hell. And yet again, they were not talking about a place other than here on earth. They were talking about those times in our own lives when we go through hellish experiences. Jesus often referred to Gehenna, to the actual trash heap on the edge of town where they would burn their trash. And he talked about what it's like in our own lives when we feel like we are trash. Last week we talked about those too good to be true moments in life that then become squashed. But that's not the end of the story. Those times when those too good to be true moments come back to life and are resurrected. And we hear in the big Jesus story this theme that happened through all of creation. And we talked and thought and reflected about those own moments in our own lives of resurrection. So tonight, we're going to talk about what we believe about God. Because what we believe about God very much impacts what we end up believing about heaven and hell and resurrection. Some churches like to debate on whether or not your beliefs are true or false. They claim to know the mind of God and can tell 100%. They can tell you whether your beliefs are true or wrong, right or wrong. We're not concerned about that tonight. But I do care about what I believe, and I do care about what you believe. And mostly because what we believe shapes our reality. If you think about it, what you believe about gravity, whether or not you believe in it, really impacts what happens to you in your life, right? You might be a little bit high off the ground. If you don't believe in gravity, you jump off. It's going to impact your everyday life. What we believe about the ozone or sun or sunscreen, you can choose not to believe it. The sun can burn you, but it still impacts your life in a big way. And what we believe about God impacts our life on a day-to-day basis as well. So what do you believe about God? This past Wednesday at our book study, we went around the table and we asked everyone that question. And we had so many different answers. We had one person who described God as their best friend, their best buddy, who always has their back and is always there and never ever leaves them alone. We heard about an image of God as a famous athlete who goes and volunteers at a place where children are tutored. And whenever they see this famous athlete come in and tutor children, they get the feeling that that's what God is like. This morning during the children's message, I asked the children what their images of God were. And 2 children said, God is handsome. Not all of our images of God, though, are positive. Sometimes we've grown up in places and in communities where we have been taught that God is vengeful, or vindictive, or judgmental. Sometimes this reminds me of a God that looks a lot like Voldemort in Harry Potter. A very powerful wizard who likes to rule with fear. A lot of people identify as God-fearing. Some of these images of God are ones where God is most concerned about being worshipped correctly and demands loyalty and allegiance. In our contemporary reading for today, Rob Bell says that if your God is loving one second and cruel the next, if God loves you your whole life long, but then the second you die, unless you believed the right way, God will punish you for all of eternity for a few mistakes that you made in your short years here on life. What does that say about your image of God? How could a God who is loving and who would go to extraordinary lengths to have a relationship with us, how could a God like that become cruel or mean or a vicious tormentor in the blink of an eye? If there was an earthly mother or father who was like that, we call the authorities. Can you imagine calling the authorities on God? If there was an actual human parent who was that volatile, we would contact Child Protective Services. So does God become different the moment that we die? Many people have been traumatized, what I believe are untrue images of God, a vengeful, toxic God. But in our scripture today, Jesus has his own beliefs and experiences about what God is like. And he tends to tell us about these through parables and stories that he shares. Usually this text that we heard today is referred to as the prodigal son. But sometime in this past year, I heard it in the way that we heard it collectively today, with the genders changed and father turned to mother. And sometimes what happens, at least for me, when I'm so familiar with the story and I start to hear it told, I think I've already heard all of it, and I don't listen as closely. But when I heard it this past year, with all these changes, it really caused me to hear it in a new way. So that's why we heard it that way today. In this story, there are 3 points of view, 3 characters. And I'm wondering, as we move through these characters, if there's one that you tend to identify more with. The first one was the younger daughter. She reminds me of those times in life when we make mistakes because we think we know it all. We don't listen to the wisdom of those older than us. We want to strike out on our own. We want to take care of ourselves. We don't need anyone else's help. She asks for the inheritance from her mother, even though her mother is still living. She makes poor choices with that inheritance, and she suffers the consequences. She spends her time, energy, and money on things that do not nurture the soul. She spends her time, energy, and money on lust, perhaps expensive, excessive clothing or material items, on cheap thrills. She doesn't use any of her time or energy or money to take care of herself or other people or God's creation. So when hard times come, she finds herself destitute. She's not dumb, though. She's smart and humble enough to realize that she messed up. But she's transferred her judgments about her own behavior to her self-worth. She believes because of what she has done in her life, that makes her unworthy of love or forgiveness. She feels shameful and broken and less than. And she's convinced that her mother, or in this story when Jesus is trying to describe God, that God could not possibly love her anymore. She does go back home, but she presents herself as hired help. Because nowhere in her mind does she wonder if God can love her beyond her mistakes. She thinks that this mother character plays by hard and fast rules. She knows she's made a mockery out of her mother. She assumes that she will be demoted as a child, as a daughter. She will be disowned. So before God can disown her, before her mother can disown her, she disowns her mother. Have you ever tried to beat God to the punch? Thinking God is going to disown you, and so I might as well disown God first. I have done that myself. She comes home and she says, I've sinned against God and against you. I no longer deserve to be called one of your children. Treat me like one of your hired humans. Another character in the story is the older sister. She's always done the right thing, but she has perceived her mother to be a taskmaster or slave driver, even though everything we learn about this mother in the story is to the contrary of that. There's no evidence, and in fact, there's evidence of the opposite. We can probably assume that this older sister got straight A's, but she never was one to have fun. Perhaps she thought fun was a sin. She never had parties with her friends over. And she reveals that she thought that her mother was stingy. That's what she thought the character of her mother was like. She says, "You didn't even give me a kid goat and have my friends over." A kid goat would be an animal that doesn't have very much meat on it. And yet her mother has killed a fattened calf for the younger sister. When her sister comes home, she wants her sister to be punished. She wants to feel self-righteous. She wants to get compared to so that she can be elevated. She wants her ego stroked. She wants those who messed up to get what's coming to them. Do you ever feel this way? Do you know any faith communities that act in this way? You have to see God as a punisher or vengeful or wrathful or judging in order to want that. The last character in the story is the mother. This mother is one who would allow her daughter to go off and make her own decisions because she gives her free will and free choice. But she always hoped and always prayed and desired to be reunited with her daughter, to be in relationship again with her. Every morning, the mother would look off in the distance, perhaps down the driveway, hoping to see her daughter. And then one day, there she was. And she ran to meet her, and she threw her arms around her, and she hugged her, and she kissed her. And the mother restores her to the family. She puts a robe on her, and a ring on her finger, and shoes on her feet. And she's not embarrassed in the least bit by this daughter. In fact, she invites everyone she knows over to the house to come and celebrate. She's been waiting for this moment for a very long time. She never gave up hope that it would happen. She always kept watch and keeps looking for what has been lost to become found. And this mother is not fair. As much as the older daughter would like her to be fair, she's not fair. But she never set out to be fair. She set out to be generous and gracious and forgiving and loving in an unconditional way. This is Jesus' image of what God is like. Jesus' experience of his relationship with God. God as gracious and generous and forgiving and loving unconditionally. All of this story ends up at a party. And at this party, heaven and hell and resurrection are all taking place at the same time in the same place. It's not taking place up there or down there or out there. It's all here, at the same party, all happening at once. The mother and the younger daughter are experiencing heaven on earth. They're experiencing resurrection, and they're celebrating the power of what was once lost coming back to life, of resurrection bringing restored relationship. But in the midst of this heaven, of this party with lots of food, the older daughter refuses to join in. The mother actually leaves the party, this slice of heaven on earth, and goes to her firstborn and pleads with her to join in, to have fun, to be happy about her sister's return, to stop pining for her to get punishment. She says, "Everything I have has always been yours. You've always been right here with me, and yet somehow you have misunderstood me. You've misunderstood my nature, my motives, and my love." The party's going on, but she refuses to join in. She stays in her own mindset, her version of how this story should go, which lands her in the hell of her own creation. For too many years, people have heard the gospel framed in terms of rescue. That Jesus is the one who rescues us from God's wrath. That Jesus had to pay the price to appease an angry God. But that's not Jesus' version of who God is. or what God is like. We don't need to be rescued from God. God is the one who rescues us from death and destruction and sin. God is the rescuer. At the end of his book, Rob Bell says, what the gospel does is confront our version of our story with God's version of our story. God's version is that we are loved no matter what has gone horribly wrong. We're invited into a whole new way of life without guilt or shame or blame or anxiety, and that God is generous and loving and kind. So I wonder if anyone in this story did you end up identifying with? The younger daughter who believed that she was cut off and estranged, and that she was no longer deserved to be considered related because of the terrible things that she had done. She thought her badness was too big to overcome. Or did you identify with the older sister, who believed that the reason she deserved to be a daughter, or a child of God, was because of all the good things she'd done and all the rules she obeyed? She believed her goodness was the only reason that God would love her. But in this story, both characters had separated themselves from God. The younger one from her mistakes that led her into misery. The older one believing that by doing all the right things, she earned God's love. But this belief actually kept her separated because she thought it was her deeds that made God love her. Neither our badness nor our goodness can separate us from God's love. So whose version of your story, your life story, are you willing to listen to today? Your version of your life story? The one that you repeated and replayed time and again in your head over and over? Or God's version of your life story? The one that you are loved more than you can know and celebrated for who you are, who you've been created to be, and that you've been called to bring love and goodness and heaven on earth within your lifetime, here and now. The difference between these two versions of your story is great. When we lean into God's version, we're inside the party, experiencing new life, reconnecting with love. And when we stick to our own version, oftentimes we're pacing outside the party, refusing to join in. May we listen for God's version of our life story and trust that love wins. Yes.